So yeah. I don't know if you guys know, but yeah. Like, I don't know if you guys know. Ooh, Malski. Malski. Thank you, Malski. This is his stream with ending voice. Ooh. I think it's time to watch the entire history of Paris.
Although the area around Paris has been inhabited by humans for nearly 10,000 years, the settlement that would become the capital of France owes its name and origins to the Gaulic tribe, known as the Parisii, who settled along the banks of the Seine between 250 and 225 BC.
That's pretty cool.
Although they initially called the settlement Lukatakia.
Ooh, don't really like that name.
And bridges that they built across the river ensured control over the vital north-south trade routes between northern Europe and the Mediterranean, which made the town prosperous enough to mint its own gold coins. This wealth, however, made it an attractive target for the expanding Roman Republic.
Ooh, yeah, they're going to want to come and take a lot of that.
During the 50s BC, began its conquest of Gaul, or what is now modern-day France. In 52 BC, the Roman army reached the gates of Lukatakia.
Yeah, they're going to want to go up there and they're going to want to take some of that.
And fought the Parisii and other Gaulic tribes in the Battle of Lutetia. After decisively defeating them, the Romans established a new settlement on the site named Lutetia Parasoria.
Yeah, wait until the barbarians start pushing your shit in.
The Roman town was built on the left bank of the Seine and laid out in the typical Roman fashion along a north-south axis, and was centered on a forum that included a temple and a basilica. Nearby, an enormous amphitheater was constructed in the 1st century AD, capable of seating up to 15,000.
It's kind of crazy how these little baby towns, just like, you got your little baby people and your little baby towns, and you got your little baby river, and it just grows into this, little baby, big baby sort of situation.
Spectators, despite the town's population being only 8,000. Lutetia grew considerably during the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, though it remained modest in size, and secondary in importance to larger Roman
I don't know
cities.
why. The evolution of, like, how places change over the course of time will never get boring to me.
Such as Lyon. A pivotal moment in the city's history.
Ooh, yeah. So he's gonna come back in 3 days?
History came in the mid-3rd century when, according to tradition, Saint Denis introduced Christianity to the area. At the time, the Roman Empire was still pagan.
Is he holding his own head?
Persecuted Christians.
Oh,
Saint
shit.
Denis was reportedly beheaded for refusing to renounce his faith.
He won't be in Christianity.
And on the hill where he was executed, Mons Martyrum, or modern-day Montmartre.
God damn. I guess art was still being developed, huh?
A church was later built over his grave, which today still stands as the Basilica of Saint Denis.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
By the late 3rd century, Lutetia, like many other settlements across the Roman Empire, faced increasing numbers of raids by migrating barbarian tribes.
Yep.
In response, many of the city's residents relocated to the safety of the Ile de la Cité in the middle of the river. Monuments on the left bank were abandoned, and their stones
Now this makes me want to play some Rise of Nations.
Used to build a defensive wall around the island, thereby forming the first city wall of Paris. From 305 AD onward, the name Lutetia...
I really love that this history video isn't using fucking some weird shitty AI, like shitty AI fake paint art.
Began to be replaced on milestones with Civitas Parisorium, and within a century it was known simply as Parisius in Latin. The subsequent decline of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century plunged Paris into a period of hardship.
Ooh.
The city faced further attacks from barbarian groups, such as the Huns and the Franks.
Yeah,
But
so
its
that's gonna happen.
survival was credited to the actions of Sainte Geneviève, who led the city's defense.
Shouldn't have switched religions. Maybe should have stayed with the religion you started with. I don't know. Maybe put, 2 and 2 together.
For which she was later canonized as the patron saint of Paris. By the end of the 5th century, the Franks had effectively taken control of northern Gaul from the Roman Empire, which laid the foundations for the emergence of Frankish and later French culture across the region.
Okay.
Under their first king, Clovis I, Paris gained symbolic importance as the capital of the Frankish kingdom. However, with the rise of the Carolingian dynasty in 751,
Carolingian? What? The Star Wars? They're making up shit now?
Paris began to lose prominence to other cities within the realm. Despite being reduced to a provincial city with little political or economic influence among the ruling elite, Paris remained rich in religious institutions. But its well-endowed churches and monasteries made it an enticing target for overseas raiders.
Yep.
In the 9th century, the Vikings repeatedly attacked the city, sailing up the River Seine to plunder and pillage. After initially being bought off with a ransom, the Vikings returned in the year 885.
You got fucking Rollo, and he ends up like saying, yeah, I'll be civilized. I'll worship your god and shit like that, right? Like,
but were ultimately repelled. Their failure underscored Paris' strategic importance, prompting the Frankish rulers to strengthen its defenses. During the 10th
I watched
and
the
11th
show.
centuries, a new city wall was constructed along the right bank, although the less populated left bank
it's a lot of
remained
history.
Unfortified until the
Really is a
13th
lot of
century.
history.
As the new millennium dawned, Paris began to recover its status and influence, aided by the ascension of the Capetian dynasty in 987. Although the early Capetian kings controlled only the region immediately surrounding.
So what are they doing when they're doing this? Does anybody know what's being said? Is something being said when this is happening? He's saying capiche? Is he doing like a fucking... You won't be buying... These are not the droids you are looking for. Is he doing... is he doing some Jedi mind tricks?
Surrounding Paris, their power gradually expanded, and the city emerged as the cultural, commercial, religious, and political heart of the Kingdom of France. During the Middle Ages, many of Paris...
God, man, even back then they were just fucking... Yeah, they were just building, man. How'd they squeeze all that shit back there? That must have been just so dirty and like... Look at all that shit. I wonder if they still like got maps. I wonder how well the maps line up these days.
Paris's iconic landmarks were constructed. The Ile de la
Damn.
Cité housed the first of many royal palaces within the city, the site of which is now occupied by the Palais de Justice, while the surrounding districts developed their own distinct identities. The left bank became a religious hub, home to the great abbeys of Saint-Germain-des-Prés and Sainte-Geneviève. It also became a center of learning, with the founding of the University
How
of
they
Paris
sustain
in
all this
1950,
shit?
which attracted scholars and students from across Europe. Meanwhile, the right bank thrived as a center of trade and commerce. Its markets, workshops, ports, and merchant houses transformed it into the
Crypto?
beating heart of the city. And by the end of the 12th century, the rising population and economic activity...
I mean, this is a lot of buildings. Is this church still here?
demanded stronger protection.
Anybody
King
live in
Philip II
France?
responded by
Is that still
constructing
there?
a formidable stone wall around both
How many
banks
bridges
of
are
the
still
Seine,
there?
completed in 1213 with numerous towers and gates. He also paved the city's muddy streets and commissioned the building of the Louvre fortress at the northern edge of the city, both to guard against external threats and to anchor the capital's growing defenses. At the center of Paris's medieval transformation stood one of its most ambitious religious projects, the construction of a new cathedral. Around 1160, Bishop Maurice de Sully initiated work on what would become Notre-Dame de Paris. The first stone was laid in 1163, and
Okay.
the altar was consecrated in
Wow.
1182.
Holy shit. Look at that.
Though construction would span 2 centuries, the cathedral's towers and facades soon came to dominate the skyline, setting a new standard for Gothic architecture. That same style reached its zenith under King Louis IX,
How'd they
who
build that?
commissioned the Sainte-Chapelle, a royal chapel built
How are they
between
building that
1231
kind of stuff?
and 1248 to
I,
house the
I think the Andromedons, I think they were here. And I think they were just kind of helping us kind of place bricks and stuff. And they're like, the Andromedons, they're just like, here, we're going to help you. You know, their Andromedons are grabbing stones, and the humans are grabbing stones, and the Andromedons are just like, hey, don't tell anybody, man. We'll help you, but don't tell anybody, man. You know, like, what's going on, man?
crown of thorns and other sacred relics. Its stained glass windows remain among the oldest in Paris, and a jewel of medieval craftsmanship. In the final centuries of the Middle Ages, Paris continued to grow in size and population, becoming the largest and most populous city
I
in
do
Europe,
think about
with
like how, dude, our like history is just so like we know, but like we only know so much. Like we don't know it all. You know what I mean? Like we truly only know what we have been told by those who won. That is it. That is it. And the only people who truly documented were people who were like had a bias of the people that they worked for. Everybody else couldn't write. Nobody else knew how to write. Nobody else knew how to document. Storytelling was like passed down by very thin lines. Oh fuck, man. I just want to see it all. I want to fucking see it all, bro. But I mean, hey, it's there. The buildings are there. They're old. We did it. But what happened, man? I want to know what happened, man. It drives me crazy. I want to fucking know, bro. I mean, shit. Even when you like someone's gossiping and talking shit at chat or at like work, and like you maybe find out the other side of the story and you're like, damn, that is so opposite of what I heard. Really? That happened? And it's like, damn, it was like that, but on a larger scale, passed down over the course of time. And people just echo chambering their fucking their legacy and lore over and over and over again and over embellishing everything. Damn. Shit was crazy. That's crazy, man. I like thinking about that.
some 200,000 inhabitants.
What's the side of history we don't know? What don't we know? What was lost, Ka?
By the early 14th century. A new, more expansive city wall was built between 1356 and 1383.
Nobody in
under the
chat knows.
auspices
Like,
of
you
King
can't answer
Charles
that question
V,
for me.
who also ordered the construction of a new
But
fort.
like, if I took a time machine, if I had access to see, or if we had a way that was just like could unveil this shit, I'd be so all about it. Like, it would be so sick. Oh my God, imagine this. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Oh my God, hear me out. What if aliens, they show up and stuff and they're like, hey, we're not here to fight or anything like that. We just want to let you know we've highly documented the entire existence of you guys. We've just been watching. We have footage of it all, like HD footage of it all. We have like terabytes of it. Just letting you know, this might kind of change the way that you guys feel about your history. About what was, this might change things. So do you want it or do you not want it? And like, who do we give it to? Because like, we just have terabytes of footage. And we're like, oh, how old are the terabytes of footage? Like, how far back? And he's like, we got everything. We got everything. Like, everything. And we're like, okay, how different is it than what we thought? And they're like, well, you know, you guys tried. And I'd be like, oh my God, I have to see this. I have to see this. I have to see this. And they're like, I'm just going to let you know, if society gets access to this, it's going to fuck everything up. And, you know, to be fair, nobody would believe it anyways, right? Like, I feel like we are at a time now where anything could be revealed in front of us. And we can just like, be like, no, not real. Not real. Like, that's it. with the development of technology and AI, dude, I see real videos that I know are real all the time, and people like musicians doing phenomenal stuff, and people going like, haha, sucks that it's AI though, like, would be sick though. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. But what if aliens could show us what really happened and they had documented it all? That'd be such a crazy shit show. They just drop it. They like drop it. They just give it to us all. They just give it to us all. And we're like, all right, let's dig into it. Let's see what happened. That'd be crazy.
Fortress, the Bastille, on the eastern side of the city.
Sorry, I'm not high.
Despite these developments, life for most Parisians remained
But if I was high, I would probably just keep talking about that nonstop.
And was shaped by rigid social hierarchies. The poor made up the majority of the population, comprising of laborers, peasants, beggars, and lepers.
When I get high, I like hyper spiral into a black hole of such a specific historic like era, like one little precise niche time period.
Them were the city's craftsmen, who owned their own tools and workshops and organized themselves into trade guilds.
I got a documentary that will show you the other side of one story we were lied about, if you want to watch it. I mean, yeah, I would love to, but like, also, isn't it just all part of the same shit? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, who are you? And where's that from? You know? Like,
that protected their members from competition and unemployment. Above them came the city's merchants and bankers, who, although comprised just 15% of the population, their wealth and influence was crucial for the city's growth.
Europa, The Last Battle, full documentary.
Next came the clergy, who formed a similarly sized
What is that,
group,
guys?
which also included university students. They were governed by a totally separate, but nevertheless strict hierarchy, which offered a path for social mobility to the best and brightest.
God damn, bro. They built all that shit and still draw it like this? You like that sentence?
Then, lastly, right at the top
They
of the
drawed
social
like
order
that?
was the hereditary nobility.
Hey, they
many of
drawed
whom
like
made
that?
up the royal court in service to the king. The rapid increase in Paris's population and size quickly resulted in overcrowded, unsanitary streets that became breeding grounds for disease. The Black Death, which spread across Europe in the late 1340s, reached the city in 1348, killing some 50,000 people.
Jesus.
Outbreaks continued intermittently into the 17th century, yet plague was not the only threat.
Is that how they carried the caskets? Like this? Guess it must have been a lot of work. That must have been horrible, man. To be fair, I would be drawing shitty at that time too.
Threats to life during this time. For violence was also commonplace.
Just kidding. I think that I like the historical drawings.
Murders accounted for 55 to 80% of serious crimes, often being the result of personal slights and insults that escalated into deadly confrontations.
What is that guy doing? Is he
The
getting
threat
thrown
of
off
war
or is he
was
dancing?
also another constant. During the late 14th and early 15th centuries, Paris suffered heavily owing to the 100 Years' War.
Their perspective, they're not good at perspective, man. I thought they were better than this at this time. Everything's all like, I can't tell how far away anything is. Like, everything's, what is going on here? Look at that. He's like, no, it's zoomed in. It doesn't matter if it's zoomed in. Look at this perspective. Look at that. He's like, he's leaning over the entire, and then these guys are like 3 feet away.
was constantly ravaged by
I'm
bands of
fucking
marauding
with you.
soldiers,
I get it.
and the city itself
They're just
endured
showing the
multiple attacks.
fucking, like,
In 1420,
it's not meant to be taken, like,
Paris was
respectively,
captured
literally.
and occupied by English forces, and the child
See,
King
now
Henry
this is a fucking, now we're getting good.
VI of England was crowned as the new King of France inside Notre Dame in 1431.
Now
English
we're
control
paying.
of the city lasted until 1436, although it prompted a mass exodus of the city's population. Following its return to French control,
Oh, this
Paris
is a fucking. Now, see, now we got perspective. God damn.
regained its former prosperity, and the population grew to 250,000 by the year 1500. During the reign of King Francis I, the city saw
Holy shit. He needs to fire whoever. I don't know what's going on here, man.
a wave of construction in the new Renaissance style, including bridges, fountains, and
It's like they had one artist create his face and his hat, and then they had another artist create his outfit. Like, it looks 3D rendered.
the first iteration of the Hôtel de Ville, which served as the city hall. Francis also began a program to strengthen Paris's status as a center of learning and culture. He founded a new faculty at the
God
University
damn,
of Paris.
that's a giant man. Was he that big?
1531 to teach Hebrew, Greek, and mathematics, and the city soon boasted around 75
Holy
printing
shit.
presses.
Look at the fucking cross hatching. Like, this is insane. This is incredible. God damn. I really do like this style. It's kind of bleak.
Which, by the late 16th century, resulted in more books being published in Paris than in any other European city.
Cyr would have be killed during this period. No, I've already talked about who, like, the kind of position in life I think I would have had at that time.
The first half of the 16th century had been
Holy shit, this is some fucking art. Damn, is this landmass still here? What's going on here? Is all this water still here too?
characterized by a cultural revival in Paris, but the latter half of the century witnessed some of the most turbulent years in its history, as the city became embroiled in the French Wars of Religion. Between 1562 and 1598, violent conflict between France's Catholic and Protestant populations erupted across the country.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Not the violence part. I'm talking about the art. Like, I'm literally talking about the art is actually pretty. I'm paying real close attention to that. Didn't really have any shadows though. Their shadows are a little weak. It's like maybe it was a rainy day or something. Maybe overcast, but it's just like, are these people floating? You know? Like the shadows are just so, they're just inconsistent. Like, you went through all this incredible work and you know, I just don't think old equals good. Just kidding, guys. The amazing thing is that they got all the amount of details. The thing about these paintings, realistically, is that you can actually spend a lot of time looking at these paintings. When I went to Munich and I was walking through some of the war paintings that they had, you could sit there and for an hour look at those war paintings and just find a new detail. There's always something new to look at. And that's the amazing thing about, like, art that is being made by a human who is paying attention to every little intricate detail that, you know, they're not going to forget about any place where that human eye might look. I kind of like that.
Though Paris remained a Catholic
There's always something new to look at.
On the 23rd of August, 1572, many prominent Protestants had gathered in the city to celebrate the marriage of the future King Henry IV. That night, the Royal Council ordered the assassination
Because
of
the
Protestant
important thing
leaders.
about paintings, are that like you really it really does provide good insight to what, of course it might be embellished a little bit because paintings are kind of interpretation, but in terms of like clothing and the way like the armor looked and how it fucking looked to witness these things. It's fucking wild. And this is also grim. I'm just now beginning to see this as very grim. God damn. Oh, god damn, man.
Protestant populations erupted across the country. Though Paris remained a Catholic stronghold, on the 23rd of August, 1572, many prominent Protestants had gathered in the city to celebrate the marriage of the future King Henry IV. That night, the Royal Council ordered the assassination of the Protestant leaders, but the targeted killings quickly escalated into a widespread massacre. Over the following weeks, Catholic mobs slaughtered thousands of Protestants in what became known as the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre.
That's insane.
An estimated 3,000 people were killed in Paris alone, with the violence later spreading throughout the rest of the country.
Jesus.
By the start of the 17th century, Paris still was reeling from decades of religious conflict. A third of its population had fled. Many buildings were in ruins, and major projects such as the expansion of the Louvre, the Hôtel de Ville, and the Tuileries Palace were left unfinished. King Henry IV personally led efforts to rebuild the city, commissioning new works including the Place
Wow.
and the Pont Neuf, the first bridge in Paris built without houses. However, his efforts came to an abrupt end when he was assassinated on Rue de la Ferronnerie by a religious fanatic in 1610.
Yep, of
Under his
course.
successors, Paris continued to develop. His widow, Marie de Medici, built the Luxembourg Palace in 1650.
Hey, the place where this picture is this building and stuff? Is this shit still here? Like, I want to see what this looks like. Is this a square?
What became known as the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre. An estimated 3,000 people were killed in Paris alone, with the violence later spreading throughout the rest of the country.
I really
the
like
start of the
I really
17th
like that
century,
shit.
Many built the Tuileries.
Not the massacre, but the like looking at a modern perspective of where there's a painting of something.
King Henry IV personally led efforts to rebuild the city, commissioning new works including the Place Dauphin and the Pont Neuf, the first bridge in Paris built without houses. However, his efforts came to an abrupt end when he was assassinated on. Minister Cardinal Richelieu sought to establish Paris as the cultural capital of Europe. They introduced a new architectural style inspired by Rome's churches, constructed 5 new bridges across the Seine, and founded institutions such as the Louvre Gallery, the Académie Française, and the Royal Academy of Painting and Sculpture.
Damn, this person said, I'm going to add less detail. I'm just going to, I'm going to add less detail. Just kidding. Mumble art? No, I actually like it. It's a really cool interpretation. It's busy.
To promote the city's artistic talent. Following Louis XIII's death in 1640,
Damn.
his young son, Louis XIV, inherited the throne. Although political instability soon followed, with a rebellion by powerful Parisian nobles against royal authority lasting until 1653. As a result, the young king developed
faces
a
were all
long-lasting
just-
distrust of Paris.
They're all just
And in 1671, he relocated the royal residence out of
Versailles.
the city entirely to Versailles. Despite the king's absence, Paris continued to flourish. The old city walls, now obsolete,
Why were
and
children
restrictive,
kings? 'Cause
were gradually
God.
dismantled and replaced by broad, tree-lined boulevards. By 1680, the city's
Damn.
population had
Now
reached
this is
500.
a fucking painting. This is a big Dick Johnson painting right here. Damn. Look, I love how everything is so fucking detailed up front, and then like they continue to add beautiful line work, and it just kind of like this is great, awesome.
100,000. And while the vast majority
If you ever
remained
see a
poor,
painting
a
like
growing
this
middle
up
class
close
began
in
to
real
enjoy the
life,
city's
you could the detail is so fine, it's insane.
increasing number of theatres and cafe restaurants. At the turn of the 18th century, the city continued its expansion. The Champs-Élysées was laid out from the Tuileries Garden to the Seine, forming part of a grand axial design of
What's here
avenues
now?
and monuments. However, despite the many architectural marvels built over the previous century, much of Paris remained a dense maze of dirty, winding streets filled with overcrowded buildings. Life for most Parisians had changed little since medieval times,
Damn.
but new ideas were beginning to circulate.
I have an idea. I have an I have an idea. I can't do the French accent. I cannot do it. I really can't.
The city's more enlightened citizens.
Let's start cutting off heads. We've been cutting off heads, you dumbass.
Great thinkers such as Voltaire and Jean-Jacques Rousseau frequented the city's cafes, which became key hubs for exchanging news, debating philosophy, and spreading new revolutionary ideas. By 1789, the loyalty of many Parisians to the monarchy had become increasingly strained, largely due to King Louis XVI's mismanagement of the economy, which he repeatedly sought to remedy.
Dude, I learned about, like, the top dog in Munich, Maximus. He had a retreat. I walked in his retreat. I was there. And he would just have busts and paintings of all of his, like leaders that he, like, idolized or respected. And he would just, they said he would spend days just contemplating and making decisions based off of how they would make decisions. And he would just, that was his retreat, where he would just sit there and think. He would sit there and ponder and ruminate. By
raising further taxes on the population. That summer,
not Maximus. Wait, was it Maximus?
Protest over the dismissal of the finance minister escalated into a riot, which sparked the outbreak of the French Revolution.
There were a lot of names. I had to deal with a lot of names.
Over the next decade, Paris became the epicenter of one of the most significant events in world history, as France transitioned from an absolute monarchy to a republic.
Holy shit. Can't we all just get along?
Through widespread violence, destruction, and political upheaval. The most symbolic act came on the 21st of January, 1793,
Holy shit.
when King Louis XVI was executed by guillotine at the
Yeah, that's the husband of what's her,
Place de la Révolution.
Marie Antoinette.
The violence and political instability continued throughout the 1790s.
Marie Antoinette. Marie.
Named Napoleon Bonaparte, seized power in November 1799. He launched a coup d'etat against the ruling government, known as the...
So when Napoleon had to fuck off out of Paris in France, his brother, when he was escaping, sold all of his silver, like all of his silverware and silver plates and shit like that, sold it to the family in Munich. And I got to see that silverware. I got to see all the it's just rooms full of it, just stacked full of fucking silver plates, silver cups, silver bowls, a cool little lore thing.
Directory, and replaced it with the consulate, naming himself as first consul. Under Napoleon, Paris began to recover from the chaos and disorder of the revolution. Though he ruled as a de facto absolute monarch, crowning himself as emperor in Notre Dame Cathedral in December 1804, and spent much of his reign campaigning.
What a beautiful fucking painting. Oh my God. Look at the details of this. This is one of those paintings that if you saw it in real life, you'd be like, holy shit. What the fuck? I mean, the details are insane. Like, look at that fucking incredible. Holy shit.
He nevertheless dedicated significant effort to transforming Paris into an imperial capital worthy of ancient Rome. He commissioned new bridges across the Seine, as well as grand monuments, such as the column in Place Vendôme, topped with his own statue, and the Arc de Triomphe, which commemorated the French battles fought in the Revolutionary
Holy
and Napoleonic
shit.
Wars. However, the decades that followed brought renewed unrest. After Napoleon's downfall in 1815, Paris was briefly occupied by Allied forces from Britain, Austria, Russia, and Prussia, paving the way for the restoration of the Bourbon monarchy under King Louis XVIII. Unlike previous kings, he ruled as a constitutional monarch and was succeeded by his brother, Charles X, in 1824. His rule, though, became increasingly repressive, and in July 1830, after introducing decrees to curtail the freedom of the press, mass protests by Parisians
There's
quickly
always
erupted
fucking
into the
fighting,
July
man.
Revolution. Days of violent street fighting followed, which forced Charles and his family to flee Paris. In their place, Louis Philippe, the citizen king, was declared
That's what he
the
looks
new
like.
constitutional monarch, raising the tricolor flag at the Hôtel de Ville to widespread acclaim. Though Louis Philippe's reign ushered in a period of industrial growth and infrastructure
Damn. Who drew this one? This is. Wait, I'm hearing. What the fuck? Whose alarm is that? Dude, there's something like kind of scary about like when you hear an alarm going on off in your room, and I was like, "There's no device in my room." I'm like, what? And then it was like my iPad. Somehow I had accidentally set an alarm on my iPad, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Anyways, I don't know how you go from like this and like this, to fucking, you know, where was it? Where was that shit at? To fucking this. Just kidding, guys. I know it's style. I know it's all. I mean, come on. You know I'm fucking
including
around.
Paris's first railway stations, the city's rapidly growing
God
population
damn! Holy shit! When you commission this artist but end up getting this, and you're like, bro, what did I pay you for? That's never happened to me, but it's more like when you buy this on Amazon and then you actually get the product.
railway stations, the city's rapidly growing population was reaching almost 1 million people,
It's pretty beautiful.
with many facing poverty and inequality. A series of uprisings consequently rocked Paris throughout the 1830s, one of the most notable being the 1832 revolt, which was immortalized in Victor Hugo's Les Miserables.
Wow.
The mounting discontent culminated in the February Revolution of 1848, when mass protests led the army to abandon the king, forcing his abdication and exile. Later that year, Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, nephew of Napoleon I, was elected as France's first president, but being barred by the constitution when seeking re-election, he staged a coup d'etat in December 1851 and declared himself as Emperor Napoleon III in the following year, ushering in the era of the Second Empire.
Damn. There's another Napoleon? Damn. Did he have a small penis too?
The new emperor launched an ambitious
Okay, all right. You know, just say you don't want to paint. Just say you didn't want the job. You know? Just say you didn't want to do it. Don't fucking bullshit us, man. Just kidding. But it actually is my least favorite type of paint style. It is. It's too like I actually think it's pretty good, but you gotta really like look at it out of the corner of your eye. Or you gotta look at it from far away. Otherwise, it's like the old paint version of pixel art. It's not my thing. And I don't need art to be literal. I just, you know.
His program of urban renewal, under the direction of his prefect of the Seine, Georges Eugène.
I don't like it. I'm allowed to have an opinion about this.
The goals were twofold: to combat unemployment and to transform the city with clean water.
I know I've talked about this style before on stream. I know I have. Is this the first photograph we're having of a Frenchman? Holy shit, we got our first photo of a Frenchman.
Light, air, and open space. Haussmann began by expanding the city's boundaries
God damn.
beyond the original 12
That
districts,
thing's huge.
annexing surrounding communes to create the 20 arrondissements that define Paris today.
There was a time where they loved the
Broad,
neckbeard, huh?
tree-lined boulevards were cut through the dense medieval neighborhoods to improve traffic flow and connect the city's newly rebuilt
Ooh,
railway
first landscape photography. Beautiful. I love to see it.
stations, such as the Gare de Lyon and Gare du Nord.
God.
Strict architectural regulations were also imposed to ensure visual harmony, with uniform facades of creamy white stone.
I love how in the foreground everything's colorful, and then like as it starts kind of like fading off, the color vanishes. I like that. There's still remnants of color in the distance. There's still slight pink. I like that.
being widely adopted, a style that still defines central Paris. Haussmann also created 4 large bulbs at the cardinal points of the city.
It's a great
installed
photo.
Tens of thousands of gaslights to illuminate streets, and began construction of the Grand Palais Garnier Opera House. During this period, Paris also became a hub of industrial activity and a global financial center, with the Paris Bourse flourishing as a major stock market for investment. Yet, despite these achievements, Napoleon III's reign ended in catastrophe. In September 1870, he was defeated and captured at the Battle of Sedan during the Franco-Prussian War, after which he abdicated and left Paris open to the advancing Prussian army, which quickly began to besiege the city.
Damn. Prussia, guess what? Your boy was just watching that shit.
The city. The winter of 1870 to 1871 plunged Paris into desperation. Food shortages led many Parisians to eat cats, dogs, rats, and even zoo animals.
Damn.
Following weeks of bombardment, Paris
just
surrendered on the 28th of January. But the Prussians only briefly occupied the city, and the resulting power vacuum...
Holy shit, wait. This is an incredible... This is an incredible... Is this a colorized... Like, this is incredible. Is this like a colorized photo or what? This is what? This is insane. This is insane. If we had paintings like this throughout history, we'd be able to... You know what? I think aliens gave them AI. Really good AI. I think that's what it was. I think aliens gave them just this kind of like analog AI art, where they're like, hey, you just prompt it. Prompt it, and it just makes it on oil for you. Just don't destroy this before the future happens. You know? No, this is incredible art. I bet you if I saw this image, this scan, this scan probably doesn't do it justice. And you know how, like, when I went to, when I was in Munich, I went to my first museum in Europe. You know, I didn't really go to a museum when I was in Italy. And when I saw these paintings in real life, the size of them, the scale of them, the amount of detail put into them, you can walk up to it and you're like small compared to it. And you could just actually sit there and observe all the details. I was actually kind of mind blown by that. So I can only imagine what this painting was probably like.
Allowed for the rise of a radical municipal government to take control, the Paris Commune. Dominated by socialists and anarchists, the Commune attempted sweeping social reforms, but lasted barely 2 months.
Whoa, what a photo.
In May of that year, French government forces launched a brutal assault to retake the city, resulting in a week of fierce street fighting in which thousands were killed.
Damn.
After
Look at that war just escalated to a whole different level.
its fall, Paris came under strict control by the conservative national government, and its rebellious spirit was forcibly subdued. In the decades that followed, Paris entered a golden age of cultural, artistic, and commercial transformation, known to history as the Belle Epoque.
Yeah.
As the scars of war faded, the city flourished as a global capital of modernity and a playground for the wealthy.
I hope this looks better in real life.
Grand department stores like Le Bon Marché.
Holy shit. Man, have this guy tattoo your back. Oh my God. Where the fuck is Waldo? Holy shit.
Galerie Lafayette helped birth a culture of mass consumerism. Paris dazzled the world through 5 international expositions between 1855 and 1900, drawing millions of visitors and showcasing the city's innovations in industry, art, and technology. One of these installations was originally constructed as a temporary feature for the 1889 exposition.
Who's that behind me? That's Durf. He gifted 20 subs to be there for a month.
To commemorate
you could do it a month from now.
The French Revolution.
It's worth
the
it.
Eiffel Tower proved so popular that it became a permanent and iconic feature of the city's skyline.
That's pretty beautiful.
It was also during this period that Paris emerged as the epicenter of modern art. Early in the movement, artists like Edouard Manet and Claude Monet pioneered Impressionism, and by the end of the 19th century, the city had become home to creative giants such as Renoir, Picasso, Toulouse-Lautrec,
and by the end of the 19th century, art started to make less and less sense and begin to look more like you had taken 18 shots of Everclear.
With the arrival of the 20th century, however, Paris, like much of Europe, became profoundly changed following the outbreak of the First World War. In September 1914, the city was threatened with encirclement by advancing German forces. But the offensive was halted at the First Battle of the Marne, famously aided by 600 Paris taxis, which transported 6,000 troops to the front. During the war, the city endured sporadic aerial bombings, Zeppelin raids, and long-range artillery fire from the German Paris.
Yeah, I'll eat those fish flakes. I'll eat those fish flakes. You want me to eat them fish flakes? I'll eat them fish flakes. Easy thing. I'll eat them fish flakes. This is that Final Fantasy gun, huh?
Gun, which launched shells from over 80 miles away.
That's pretty insane. That's actually insane. That achievement is insane. I'm curious as to what the accuracy is of that. But that's insane. You know what I mean? You think about the range of that at this time is just wild.
After the war, Paris faced high unemployment, inflation, and rationing.
Yeah, those hats were so ugly. I'm glad we stopped that. They're like Neff beanies pulled down over your face, you know? Eating green bean. Eating green bean. Thank you very much for the 16 months. You know what? We got to start doing these history nights where Cyr just gives hot takes on art. Well, it's history combined with me just giving really kind of uncalled for hot takes on style and art.
Yet in the 1920s, it once again flourished as a cultural capital, with writers, artists, and musicians such as Ernest Hemingway, Igor Stravinsky, and James Joyce flocking to the city. Jazz music thrived,
No,
offering
because
a
people
platform for Paris's small
hyper-romanticize
but growing
history in
black
the past all the
communities to
time. But
showcase their
no, I'm
talents.
here to actually
But
fucking
beneath
say
cultural
the truth.
renaissance lay deepening social and political divisions, which by the 1930s
Oh, great. Another impressionist painting. Just kidding. This is actually a pretty good, good
become
fucking
a
photo.
battleground of political extremism, with tensions intensifying in the lead-up to the Second World War.
Jesus.
Following Germany's invasion of Poland in September 1939, France declared war. Although thousands of children were evacuated from the city, and the remaining population being issued with gas masks and building bomb shelters,
Bro, those photos are wild.
the German army simply bypassed the French defenses.
If you look at
and
old
entered
gas
Paris,
masks photos, it's fucking insane.
virtually unopposed in June 1940, without a shot
Thank you,
being
Kubrick
fired.
Chromatic. I love history.
French government
I love
relocated
learning
to
about it
Vichy,
too.
while the city itself became the administrative center for the German High Command in France.
So they really have been doing this in Europe for a really long time, because they did this in Italy, they do this in Germany. They got these, you got two-seaters of people that sit there and just stare at people, and it's like been like that ever since.
With many cafes, hotels, theaters, and cinemas being forced to accommodate
I like it.
new occupiers.
We don't really do that in the
For
States.
Parisians, the occupation meant humiliation, shortages, and repression, but none suffered more so than the city's Jewish population. Forced to wear the yellow Star of David and barred from public life, more than 12,000 Parisian Jews were rounded up and deported to camps like Auschwitz. It
Laszlo,
was only after 4 long years of German rule and the growing activity of the French resistance that Paris was finally liberated in August.
that's crazy that I
1945.
feel like we only just learned about this thing getting built. Are there people up there?
With
That thing
Allied
is
troops
huge, man.
parading through its streets to euphoric crowds. In the post-war decades, Paris entered a new phase of transformation. Reconstruction efforts sought to repair the years of damage and neglect, while waves of immigrants from former French colonies in North and Central Africa reshaped the city's cultural and social landscape. Urban renewal projects gradually restored architectural splendor and civic life. So much so, by the 1980s, Paris
This looks like North Korea now.
gained much of its international prestige. It was once again widely seen as the global capital of art, fashion, cuisine, and culture, creating an enduring appeal from not just its aesthetic beauty,
Yo, the Louvre.
but also in its extraordinary resilience. Time and time again, through bouts of
fucking
plague,
Louvre.
revolution, and war, Paris has continually risen to reclaim its rightful
That's
title and
crazy now. That's kind of crazy. It puts it all into perspective, you know? It's pretty fucking amazing.
place.
I never
It's one of
really
the most-
paid attention to that, to fucking Paris. I mean, that's just one fucking city in there, too. Crazy, man.